The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff or management of Worldwide Digital Broadcasting Corporation.
Rise! Get yourselves together! Rise! Stand up and live your life! Rise! Get yourselves together! Rise! Hands up high!
Terry plans to tighten her physique with a full body lift, performed by Dr. Julio Garcia.
Okay, and why don't you tell me what are the areas that concern you the most, and I can tell you how we can help you there.
I'd like to have my breasts reduced in size and lifted back up to the general area where they should be in.
Okay.
And I have a lot of excess skin hanging on my arms where the skin is wrinkly and floppy. This time I'm having a breast reduction and an arm lift. Next will be the tummy tuck and then thigh lift. The sagging skin is a problem. I could go into the store and buy a sleeveless blouse and put it on and it fit. And then I look down and my arms look like they were 80.
Okay, now you can put your arms down. We've all seen a waffle cone, and what they actually do is take parts of the waffle and fold it upon itself to give us a kind of like a teepee. And what I'm going to be doing is almost designing a brassiere that's made out of your breast tissue.
Wonderful.
Okay.
I hope when all of this is done that I'll have the self-confidence that I lacked for about 15 years.
Terry's a very interesting individual in that here's a woman who has had a remarkable result in terms of losing weight. She has set goals for herself, she's achieved those goals, and now she's looking for some kind of reward.
Dr. Garcia begins by removing her nipple and areola. He takes over 6 ounces of fat from Terry's F-sized breast to achieve her ultimate D cup.
6.3 ounces.
He simultaneously reshapes and lifts Terry's breasts by sculpting them into a waffle cone mold. Then repositions Terry's areola 4 inches higher on her breasts. Next, Dr. Garcia identifies the excess skin he'll remove in the arm lift.
The tension that a wound can tolerate is very dependent on the patient's quality of skin.
He cuts away the sagging tissue. This eliminates the batwing effect caused by hanging skin.
So now she can wear sleeves down here if she wants.
Dr. Garcia concludes the 5-hour surgery. Completely healed from her last surgery 3 months ago, Terry prepares for the final stage, a tummy tuck and thigh lift.
What we're going to be doing is taking this up and this down, okay? This is going to come, this is going to come, this is going to come up and up. Right.
Okay, in the future, after all the surgeries are done, I'm real excited about being able to buy a matching set, bra and panties. I've never been able to do that. You know, I've always been 2 different sizes.
Just a little bit of oxygen.
Dr. Garcia starts with lipo to Terry's buttocks.
We've taken out 24 ounces of fat.
After turning Terry over, he proceeds to the thigh lift and abdominoplasty.
The interesting thing here is we're going to generate an enormous amount of contour change, and I think her waistline will be significantly narrower.
He separates the upper flap and lower thigh tissue, removes the excess skin, then pulls and sutures the 2 areas tightly together.
We've lost about 5 pounds of skin, plus another 3.5, almost 4 pounds of fat.
Satisfied, he replaces Terry's belly button, bringing her surgery to a close.
We took out 6 inches long, 2.5 inches thick, 32 inches long. You just take it easy, don't overdo it. Okay. You like that idea? All right, good.
I can handle that. Everyone just tells me how great I look. Most people comment on how big my smile is now, that I just look happy and healthy. Shopping's a lot more fun. I can actually stand in my closet and pick things. It's been fun being able to buy short sleeve shirts and no sleeve shirts. I like the way I look. I have a lot more choices. Getting rid of the sagging skin has been a big confidence booster. I'm not self-conscious about my arms at all. The buttons close over the breasts, accents the waist. I like the way it falls in the back. When I look in the mirror now, I see the person I've always wanted to be, that I knew was in there, but sometimes she hid really far. When I would go pick my son up, some of the older kids used to pick on me, they'd laugh and point, and now I enjoy seeing the teachers and the kids.
Oh, here, Mommy!
The best part is the way I feel physically. I feel so much younger than I did before. Being able to play with Jacob, and it's just the greatest thing in the world, and it makes everything I've gone through totally worthwhile.
Welcome to the Rise Above show. I am Joe Perroni.
I'm Heidi Mancini.
So do we have any announcements today?
I just want to thank Jay Young from City Athletic for sponsoring our show Rise Above. But I'm not doing any supplement stuff today or any vitamin stuff because we have Dr. Garcia.
Perfect.
So I'll ask him my questions.
Oh boy.
So today, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
We've got a great guest today. We've got Dr. Julio Garcia, who he's not going to say it, so I am going to. He is the premier plastic surgeon probably in the world, yes?
From your mouth to God's ears, Joe.
Well, Las Vegas is known for plastic surgery.
Yes.
Is that true?
Absolutely.
And you're the top guy here, so that would make you the big dog, right?
I appreciate it. I am big, and I can be a dog at times, so you're right.
So here's something I was thinking about. Sure. You and I, we're getting a little older.
Yes.
But what I notice is, walking around the gym, that there's really not a lot of young people coming up willing to challenge, say, me in certain areas. And with Heidi, we're not going to say her age because I know how women are, but nobody's really challenging her either. We're talking about coloring hair today, and there's really nobody taking your place that's better than you. And in your case, whenever people talk about plastic surgeons, you're the name. And I just don't see anybody coming up and challenging you yet. What do you think?
Well, I think there's advantages to that. It's, I'll give you an analogy to working out and how I built my practice. A lot of working out is getting a great foundation. You've got to get your basic moves, your mechanics down right. I've been privileged enough to be in Las Vegas. It'll be 29 years this June. We've probably treated over 32,000 patients in that time.
Wow.
So, when you spread a foundation that wide, and you're not afraid of telling patients when they come in that they're not ready for something, and they may get disappointed initially, but then they realize later on that honesty is the way to go. And it's just like that. You build a foundation, and on that you build and build and build. And so I've been very fortunate. The vast majority of the people that come to see me for my profession are referrals from either previous patients, or they're coming back for their third and fourth surgery, because some of these people I've known for over 20 years. So it grows like that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So rumor has it that, are you the one who put back Evander Holyfield's ear?
Yeah, rumor's true.
That's true?
It's true.
All right.
It's a kind of a funny story, and it's probably one of my claims to fame in the sense that because of that, I'm in the 1990s version of Trivial Pursuit.
Are you really?
It actually says who's the doctor that put back Holyfield's ear, and
did you make sure that happened?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, by the way.
Yeah. No, but it was kind of one of those. It's a funny story. I'll keep it brief. But I was at a friend's house in Henderson watching the fight. I was in a tank top, shorts, smoking a cigar, and sandals. And I'm watching the fight, and he gets bit the first time, and I go, everyone's like, wow. And then he got bit the second time, and the bigger piece came off, bit the other ear. And I said to my buddies there, I said, some idiot's going to have to go take care of this problem right now. 2 minutes later, my beeper goes off and says, we need you at Valley Hospital right now.
Wow.
I go, what's going on? He says, well, Holyfield's here, and he wants to leave as soon as possible, and you need to fix his ear. So the story gets more weird. So I say, I'll be there in 20 minutes because I got to go home and change. They go, no, you're coming right now. I don't care how you're dressed. And I'm thinking to myself, if I get there and they take a picture of me dressed like this, and my mother sees it, she's going to kick my tush, you know? So I hustled over to the emergency room, and he was there. I met him, and they didn't have the cartilage, but they had a piece of skin still. So I told him, I'm going to take the skin and put it back on that wound, and you'll be ready to go. We'll do it under local anesthesia so you're not asleep, so you can go home. Literally, they took him back to the operating room. The time it took me to change into my scrubs and come back out, someone had stolen the skin.
What?
So now I'm sitting. Yeah, it had vanished. Okay, literally vanished. So now I'm sitting there going, okay. So I tell Evander, hey, listen, I'm gonna have to do something a little bit more complicated to get this closed. He says, no problem, whatever it takes. So we do it, and he's a true gentleman. I mean, we finished the cleaning up and the suturing and the stitching, and he autographs the nurses' scrub suits. And so he gets changed, and it's time to go. And outside the emergency room, it's all full of ESPN and everything. And I'm like, oh, man, my mother's going to kill me. So I went up to him, said, champ, can I ask you for a favor? He said, absolutely. I said, can I walk out with you guys so that no one sees me? He says, yeah, just put your hand on my shoulder. You're between me and my trainer, and just walk right out. And that's what I did. We walked out. He went through the door. He went left. I went right. And the rest is history. I did 27 interviews in the next 24 hours, half of them in Spanish. And I was on the Larry King show that Monday night.
That's awesome.
So it was a fun night. It was a crazy event. And it was challenging because, disclaimer, Mike Tyson would come in the office occasionally to, if he'd get banged up and sewn up. And I had a picture of the bite with Holyfield's signature. I would have to take it down when Mike would come to the office because I didn't want to have a problem. But that was a crazy night for sure. Yeah, so it's true, no rumor.
That is
Somebody
true.
stole the skin, and they never found the
Yeah,
skin.
and they never found the skin. But funny anecdote to end it. About 2 o'clock in the morning, I get called by someone from the MGM grant. They had found a piece of the cartilage, but it was all trampled because it was on the mat and people had been walking on it. So he says, can you use it? I go, I really can't, it's too late, it's infected and stuff. So they called somebody in Evander Holyfield's camp, and one of the sparring partners and one of the ancillary guys said he would take it. And that piece of cartilage, rumor has it, was sold for $25,000 at an auction in New York City. It was bought by a stockbroker. I mean, back this late 90s, right? So there's a lot of money going on. Bought for $25,000.
That's crazy.
So yeah, it was a crazy night. All the way around, it was crazy,
So when you go out, do you have to watch stuff like that? Like you're probably never allowed to even have a drink, right?
Yeah.
Like if they would have called you and said, "Listen, I'm wasted."
Yeah,
can't do it.
no, and luckily, it's one of those days I just hadn't had some. But yeah, when you're on call, those are days where there's no wine, there's no beer, there's no martinis. It's just it's something you do just to you don't want to have a problem like that.
Yeah.
And so I did sew them up straight. I wasn't drunk or anything like that. Yeah.
So the other rumor is that was the George Clooney character on ER, was that you?
No, it wasn't me. But the hospital where that show was based, ER, was the hospital that I trained at in Chicago.
Okay.
That hospital did exist, slightly different name, and actually had some friends that trained with me, some nurses that actually did bit pieces on the show when they were shooting it. I wish I could claim that Clooney stood in for me. That would be a claim to fame.
Well, you could say it.
No, I don't want George to show up and slap me for false promos. No, I wish it had been, but it wasn't.
All right. Well, we were close.
Yeah, 1 out of 2. That's good.
1 out of 2. Well,
Not bad.
Let's give it that one a half.
Okay, we'll give you half.
Because you
All
were
right.
there.
Yeah, I was there. Okay, I'll give you that one.
So, with the work that you do, right, there are a lot of plastic surgeons, but there's a reason why you've risen above the crowd or the herd, so to speak. What do you think that is? Like, there's got to be something special.
Well,
about how you handle things.
some of it is, what I try to do with my patients or my potential patients is explain why. Both of you guys know, you guys train other people, and the most important thing is to educate them. And if you educate the consumer, whether it's a plastic surgery patient or a client that you're training for personal training, if you tell them why you're doing something and it makes sense to them, you develop a bond that is very different. I don't want to be a salesman. That's not my job. Actually, the word doctor comes from a Greek root word, which is teacher, not healer. Everyone thinks a doctor is a healer, but it actually is a teacher. And if I can explain to the patient why I want to do what I would suggest, that makes a big difference. The other thing is, and this is very different though from personal training. When patients come in, I always ask them, what are you looking to change? And the worst nightmare for me is when they say, well, you tell me. I'm like, well, the problem is what I see may not be what bothers them. So I need to know what bothers them in order. If they have 3 things that bother them, I want to know all 3 things. And I go, what's number 1 concern, what's number 2, and what's number 3? And if they can't communicate that to me, I usually don't take them on as a patient. And the reason is, if their impression of something that's wrong is so vague, how am I ever going to fix that? So if they can't vocalize that, I don't have a target. It's like when a personal trainer says, okay, has a client says, I want to lose 20 pounds. Well, okay, there's a method to that. Or I want to build bigger muscles. There's a way to do that. So you need to know what the goal is. If someone says, well, I want to be fit. Well, there's a lot of definitions of that. Do you want to be able to run long distances? Do you want to be able to lift a lot? So, it's a matter of communication, and I think that's probably the most important. If you're trying to run a patient mill and try to see as many patients as you can, that's a problem, because you're going to have to do the same, little story all the time.
Right.
And every patient is individual. Every time I do a procedure, there's always a little difference from one patient to another. And I get that because I have to listen to them before I can even suggest a solution to their problem. So, and that's getting harder. I'll be honest with you. That ability to elicit a concern from a patient is very different than it was just 10, 15 years ago. And I think social media has done that.
Right. It's a very narcissistic world out there, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a wonderful venue to communicate with friends and all that. But, I'm sure you guys have heard that, the selfie craze has created a demand for, injections and things to dissolve fat, and look at my chin, look at my neck, look at my nose, and it's weird because they come in and want to look like a celebrity, and it's a very difficult thing to do. I've done them. I've done a number of individuals that are on the strip as impersonators but these are people that want to make a quantum physical change to look like someone else. So, I've done a bunch of 4 or 5 Elvises, 2 Michael Jacksons, 3 Celine Dion's, wow. two Chers. So, but these are people that are willing to physically change themselves to look like a famous person because they're going to make their living like that. They're going to be on stage. Whereas, the girl that comes in and says, I want lips like Kylie Jenner, I'm like, really? First of all, show me a picture, because I could.
Who is that?
I mean, I know the name, but so that's part of it. And it's a challenge. I need that level of accurate communication before I can do something for them.
But do you think it's a challenge too, because there's so many, and I know this because I've come to you. I keep coming back because I enjoy your honesty all the time.
Thank you.
You did my breast augmentation that I love.
Thank you.
Still enjoy it.
Me too.
You do too. In the beginning, he was all tripping out, like, "Oh, girls," he had the whole. He was for it in the beginning, and then after, he was kind of worried. But what I find is that there's so many people out there now, and I have fallen to this, that they do the Botox, they do the injections, and it's like a mill. And I see it in the gym. I can't want to say the gym. I always bag on the gym, but I can't. I see it there, and I see it in the salon where you see girls walk around, everybody looks exactly the same. And one of the things that I said to you when I came in was, I just want to look fresh. I don't want to look scared. I don't want to look like Spock. I want to look like me. And as a surgeon, is that what's difficult? Because you're honest with people, and you say, this is what I think, this is what I'd recommend, but yet they'll turn around and they'll go to these cheap places, they're $100 off.
There's that, and they do that because they get the belief that it should be done every so amount of time, or they start seeing a minimal change and they rush back, and I say, you're not ready yet, and they do go there to other places, and then sometimes you got to fix a problem, which is a challenge. You got to there's something that's uneven, you got to even it out, and it's funny because the makers of these products, when they send their representative to our office, they go, look, this is how you do your business. You bring them in, and then before they leave, you just put them on the schedule. You give them an appointment for 3 months from now. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I said, you come back when you're ready, when you want. And there's some patients that I think the improvements would be relatively mild, especially in older individuals, where some of the fillers and the other injectables aren't the best solution. And I tell them, I go, look, take an occasion, each year, your birthday, an anniversary, you want to go back for a high school reunion. Come in 2 weeks before, we'll do it, and then you let it wear off. And when there's another special occasion, you just, a couple weeks before. But otherwise, it's like a little gerbil. You're ever in there every 3 months. And I hate to say it. I mean, obviously, we all want to make money. That's what we have a job for. But, when you get on that mill, that you start spending, it doesn't seem like a lot when you do it piece by piece. But when at the end of the year, when you total it up, it's like I was looking through Facebook last night, and this one doctor I know in California posts a picture of a patient who that particular physician had put 7 syringes of filler in the patient's face. Now,
sounds like a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot of stuff. But it's also, the issue is 7 syringes of a filler, average cost, that's about $4,000 to $5,000. That is temporary. I'm like, yeah, it's easier than doing, a facial surgery, but where is the return on investment for the patient? I mean, because the patient may or may not know that this stuff's going to go away in 3 to 6 months, and all of a sudden you're like, that's a lot of dough. I mean, a facelift's going to last you, 7 to 10 years. Okay, it's going to cost maybe $8,000 or $9,000. You're going to pay multiple times over to do that. So there is a place for injectables, and there's a place for surgery. And you have to know your patient so you can counsel them the best way. I mean, it's a counsel. I mean, really, I'm a psychiatrist with a scalpel. It's kind of a weird, and a needle. It's just a weird reality, because I'm trying to get people to feel better by how they look.
Right.
And that's why I have to know what it is that is the trigger for them. Otherwise, there's people that come and, they tell me one thing, I write it down in the chart, after surgery, this massive change, and they go, yeah, but my main interest was this other thing. I go, well, you listed that like 6 or 7 on the list. So, it's a challenge. There's no doubt. The challenges are increasing. I think society's changing, as you guys, would agree probably, and you just got to take it with a grain of salt and pace yourself.
I think though, when you stay true to yourself and what your goals are, you'll always get, because people will continue to come back. Because I've lost clients, in the hair business, because they went to somebody else because they were cheaper, or they were the stylist, everybody was going to. But that people inevitably, they do come back because if you're not good at what you do and you're not consistent,
Right.
that's going to show at some point.
Yeah.
And I think consistency's, with everything. That when I come to see you, it's always the same. I always feel when I walk in the office, even with the girls, everybody's nice, professional. Nothing changes. And
That's the way it should be. No matter what, every business should be like that. Unfortunately, we've gotten to be such a drive-through mentality society that, it's like I'm not a big user of Groupon. I've never bought anything on Groupon myself. But there are plastic surgeons in town that do Groupon things. They'll come in now and from what I understand, Groupon takes a big chunk of the money. So it's almost like you're doing it for free to get someone in the door. So I'm like, is that going to build your practice long term? I don't know. My guess is probably not. And
Seems like they're just looking for a deal.
They're looking for the deal. Even in the hair business, we have hairstylists that do that, and I've never participated because I said they're the deal shoppers. They're the ones that go from salon to salon, this place to this place, looking for the discounted color, and I don't want to deal with it.
No, I agree. I keep coming back to the training, but if you run your practice the way you train in the gym, there's going to be low times. There's some times when, you've worked out too hard, you're neurologically overwhelmed, you're muscularly overwhelmed, and sometimes you got to take a deload week. Well, in my business as a plastic surgeon, it's not crazy busy all the time. There are peaks and valleys. Why? Because like right now it's a little slow because it's right before tax season, so people are a little worried. They want to pay their taxes. There's other times when all of a sudden, it's the holidays coming up, so they want some things done there. So there's a lot of motivations and reasons why people do things or don't do things. And you just got to be consistent. If you're consistent, provide good service, they'll eventually come to you or come back to you. And, they come back, with their, it's like your dog when you yell at them, they come back with their tail between their legs. I'm sorry, but I went to so-and-so. And you're like... And usually it's like you said, Heidi, it's a matter of money, and that's, listen, I understand the money thing, but, maybe if you can't afford it, maybe you shouldn't do it. At least do it now, but we live in this kind of credit-based thing. And we offer some companies services that do some credit for the patients so they don't have to put it on their credit card, because sometimes you put a $4,000 or $5,000 surgery on your credit card, you can't go out for a while. You got to pay that thing down. So it's just a matter of I've always been a thinker in more long terms in just about every facet of my life. I look at the long game, not the short game.
It's funny you say that, because Heidi and I had that conversation. Like, I've been doing training now for like 30 years here, and I used to feel bad about what I'm going to say, but I don't anymore. I've never been the most popular trainer. There's always somebody that jumps up, right, and they're good for 6 months, a year, and then they disappear. But I am always there, and I'm always like right at the top, but I'm not. I think you probably totally forgot this, but you were telling me this one day. We had a conversation, it's over 10 years ago, and you were comparing it, and you said, I'm the kind of guy that would win the Cannes Film Festival, but I'm not going to win the Academy Award. Because for the reason you were saying is I don't necessarily appeal to the broadest common denominator, so to speak,
right.
But the people who I attract stay with me.
Right. That's so true, Joe. I mean, and getting back to that original story, I mean, when you think about it, some of these people that jump on the bandwagon with something new, whether it's a new filler or a new workout plan, they're a flash in the pan.
Right.
Because they're attracting people that want something they think is easy. And let me tell you, whether it's training or plastic surgery, this is a process. It doesn't happen overnight. And those people in 6 months are gone. The same way there's all these new systems to get you in shape that everyone tries. The bottom line is, it takes sacrifice, sweat, discomfort, and dedication and repetition. And these things, lose 20 pounds in 20 days, or I'm going to get you in rock hard shape in 90 days. I'm like, really? I mean,
but it sells.
It sells
temporarily
because it's like I had a person I was talking to.
Interrupt you just for a second, but it's the same thing when you do cosmetic surgery. Like, you see women, they think if they get their eyes done, their lips done, their cheeks done, their boobs done, their butts done, that I'm going to be. They only feel good for a short term. Yeah,
because they're doing it for the wrong reason. It's the person that contacts me through my website and asks me a question and said, "Hey, what do you think about this supplement for weight loss? Should I take 200 or 400 milligrams?" I go, you know what? I don't think it's the milligrams that your problem is. It's the grams. It's the kilos. But everyone wants that little magic pill, and it doesn't exist. I mean, this takes sacrifice and all of it. And if you, that's the problem, and that's why you have to, get patients' expectations to be real. Many times, they come in and they go, I want these 3 things. And I say to them sometimes, well, I can fix 2 of those, but one of them is not going to get fixed. So
they don't want to hear that.
Right. No, they want, what do you, and they're, yeah, exactly. What do you mean? I see that I'm botched all the time. I'm like, well, or I see, it's the, right. It's just a challenge, these people that get on TV, I crack up when you see especially now with high def television, I happened to watch part of the Academy Awards because my wife was intent upon watching it, and I was laughing because you see the celebrity on screen, whether it's cut out to when they're in the in the sitting area there just waiting, or in the audience, and then they cut to a commercial where this person's endorsing some product, and they look totally different. I'm like, and people believe the commercial that, well, I should never have a wrinkle, I should never have a brown spot, I should never have this, I should, my hair should glisten, be shiny, feel silky. I'm like, come on, these are celebrities that paid, supposedly Leonardo DiCaprio paid to get some person from Australia to fly to California to do these 4 celebrities' eyebrows, to shape their eyebrows.
Wow.
Now, I'm sorry, but
how important is that really? I mean, come on.
I mean, I've never ever noticed that he's got big eyebrows, little eyebrows.
Does he have any?
I don't know, but I mean, now whether it's true or not, who knows? But obviously, the person who's in Australia who does this stuff for like $2,000 a sitting. Yeah, it's crazy. It's insane. So, Photoshop, it's like when you look at the women's workout magazines, there's about 4 abdomens. They've all been shaped a certain way. They, put the person's head on there, and it's just...
Everything's airbrushed now.
Everything's airbrushed.
You know what surprised me? After my hip replacement, I thought, okay, I'm bored. Let me see if I can do a show. And then I got really nervous because I started looking at Facebook, which I've been starting to participate in more. I shouldn't, but I started to. Yeah. And I'm looking at some of these guys, and I'm like, wow, they are really cut. They got that grainy look. I'm like, I got my work cut out. I'm really going to have to train harder than I usually do, And then I get there for the show. And I'm 51 years old now. And I look at these guys that are in their 20s and 30s. They're all fat. Yeah. They're all soft. And I'm like, it's the filters that they're using, taking the pictures with their phone. And they're not dieting anymore. They just hit that little filter, and it makes them look like they're really veiny and cut. And then they go into the show thinking that they're awesome. I show up, I'm like, these guys didn't even train. They're so mentally soft now. Yeah. I mean, do you notice this at the gym? Yeah, no, I for sure I noticed it at the gym. It is something that, it's difficult. They just don't want to pay the price because they don't want to wait the time. And listen, you and I both know, the 3 of us know a lot of professional bodybuilders, female and male, and there are very few people that can look show ready
365. Okay,
Oh, yeah, very.
I mean, most professional bodybuilders I know, especially the ones that are competing in the Olympia and only at the Olympia, are in shape for 2 days a year.
Right.
That's it. Okay, the rest of the
That's true.
year, holy cow, you're like, no, that can't be so and so. You know, you walk by him at the Golds in Malibu, you go, I think I saw that, but it can't be because he doesn't look like that. You know, so it's a challenge. It's a real challenge, to be real with yourself. But and I feel bad. These guys, you see them at the gym, they're doing this, they're doing that. I see some of the weirdest exercises being done. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, they're balancing on a ball, trying to do a curl.
Right.
They join the gym within 6 days. They're trying to hit up somebody for steroids, and they're thinking they're going to win some bodybuilding show. And what's with that physique thing? Like,
for
why
men?
are we allowed to wear shorts now? Like, why?
Well, because I'll tell you why. And my thinking is because there were so many guys at the gym that all they do is work their upper body, and you never see them work their legs. We've seen them, right?
Right.
The bird legs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Storks.
Right.
Like, yeah.
And I mean, sometimes it's like you think that they have a neurological disease. You look at their legs, and it's like if they served me a chicken wing that looked like that, I'd throw it at the owner of the restaurant. But so if you think about it, though, if you're a promoter and you're going to get $250 an entry fee per guy who's going to wear board shorts,
Yeah.
and you get 150 competitors, you'd be a fool not to do that.
Well,
and these guys think they're going to get a contract for some men's magazine on Men's Fitness or Esquire. I go, dude, you're not even getting close.
No,
okay?
no.
No.
Yes,
I mean, so the money you spent on the steroids and all that stuff, you should have eaten clean, worked out your whole body, and maybe you could do something. But
that's even turned into a money maker. The shows. It's not about. There's like 1 million competitors now.
Yeah.
Bikini included. I'm gonna say that one because of the board short thing. But a lot of these bikini girls that show up too, they're always complaining. Oh, I'm starving. Oh, I'm that. I'm low. And I look at them and I go, what? You don't even have any muscle. How can you be starving?
Right.
But as a promoter, they see that and they go, hey, you want to go up on stage for 3 seconds? We'll take your couple $100.
yeah,
I don't care.
no problem.
There's no.
Yeah.
They'll take the money. They don't care.
Well, because it's not
fat,
right, and it's not just the entry fee, because whatever person it is, male or female, is going to drag their poor family from wherever they came from.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm bringing my family because those 6 people are going to be the only people that are going to cheer for me.
Exactly.
So all of a sudden you get the $250, and you get the $75 a day per the ticket, and then they're going to buy T-shirts and this and that.
Yup,
So
then-
I mean,
Then it
it's a
supports the
business.
tanning thing too.
Oh,
Now
my
people
God.
get those $120 for a tan.
I mean, how much do women pay for those bikinis that they wear on stage? Most of them are custom made.
The cheapest is like $350.
Right, exactly.
And up.
I mean, I know a lady. I've known her a long time. Her husband's a friend of mine. She makes costumes for strippers. Okay, what these strippers get, the amount of cloth that they get for what they have to pay, it's ridiculous. I mean, and she's been doing it for 20 years. She does it for most of the places in Vegas, and you're like, you're getting paid basically for a bra and panties like $350, $400.
There's not a lot of material there.
Right.
It's like an apartment in New York City. Just the value of the area is small, but
It's so you start to, and that's the industry. That's the, there was a reason, there's a lot of conspiracy theories why women's bodybuilding went away. Well, the reason was there's more money in figure and bikini and fitness and all. I mean, you got a
They
lot
always
more.
got to one up each other too. That's the other thing. Well, what's your suit? And girls, how much did you pay for your suit? $350. Oh, I'm gonna pay $500 because mine's gonna be better. That suit is not gonna make you place.
No.
But unfortunately,
It's not big enough to hide what you didn't have.
maybe they should put board shorts on some of the girls.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's
so it's totally true, right? Like they do it for money. I get that.
yeah.
But okay, so but where is it going, and where do we draw the line to? Okay, let's do it with basketball, right? Like you and I are muscular guys. but we're not 6'5".
No.
So let's start a basketball league for guys that are like 5'5".
Yeah.
You know, and then just we'll have. You know,
I'm good with that.
But it just seems like we're in every area just about we're dumbing down the country, right? Like if you look around now, we're in an age where it's anti-intellectualism now. Is this thing like if you read a book, people are like, "Oh my God, you're an elitist."
Yeah.
Like, no, I like to read.
Yeah.
You know, like you're never going to have competition. Like the people coming up are so coddled that I don't think that they know what it's like. I mean, you remember what a library is, right?
Yeah.
Like now, people just look on the phone. Like,
I still buy books, hardcover books.
Yeah, me too.
Joe, and Heidi, I tell you, it's a very interesting problem because, a lot of it is, it's about a facade. It's about a made up image of yourself. You like to brag that, and these people, probably don't have the money to do most of the things that they do. The car they drive, the house they live in, they boast that they got a personal trainer, but then they never show up half the time. But they like to say, oh, well, so-and-so is my trainer, and he charges me. And that's the next thing is, and they charge me, $200 a session. I'm like, why would you tell anybody that? I mean, but you're trying to create a celebrity persona.
Okay, like reality TV, like
right.
And that's another subject too, right? I mean, reality TV now is basically what, like a long time ago. I don't know why it popped into my head, but say somebody like John Travolta, right? Whether you like him or not, he's a good actor.
Yeah.
He actually had an album. He used to sing.
Yeah.
Oh, he sang in Grease.
Yeah.
He can sing.
No, he can sing.
He can dance. And,
he can dance.
And he was not that unusual.
No.
For his time. They all had talent.
Yeah.
Now it's like, okay, you watch TV now and you're like, hold it. You didn't do any acting. You didn't spend any time on Broadway. You didn't spend any time, like, you weren't 5 years old learning how to tap dance. You didn't do anything.
No.
You just
Same
breathe.
for singers. Now they have all this software that you can put on, so their voice sounds a certain way.
That's true.
And, there was a pretty famous person who was here in town at a gig on the Strip with his band, and he performed. And the people were laughing because he didn't sound like he does on his albums. And you're like, well, or you have the scenarios like what happened New Year's Eve with that singer, that female singer, who I don't want to say her name.
Oh, I'll
right.
say it. Yeah,
okay.
I think it's Mariah Carey.
Right. All of a sudden, the voiceover didn't work. I'm like, she should have taken the mic and stuck it out to the audience, say, sing it for me, and have the audience sing. So it's this, they're trying to prolong, it's kind of like plastic surgery. They're trying to prolong their quote unquote competitive years. And what you have to understand, and I understand it myself. I mean, I'm going to be 60 here in a couple months. I can't do what I used to do 25 years ago. Okay, so I'm kind of like Toby Keith in that song. I can't do everything that I used to do, but I can do it once as well as I ever did. So I can't train 6 days a week anymore.
Right.
I can't recover. So you adapt so that you can continue doing what you like, and you continue looking, good for your age for a longer period of time. But if you burn that and you just hit that accelerator, you go, if you redline it, man, you're gonna burn out. And you know what? Couple years from now, those people will be gone. They'll be gone.
I think good writers have talked about where when you start to dry up, you don't have necessarily the substance anymore.
Yeah.
You can get away with it for a while with style, because you know how to do things, and you can tweak things, and you can say things in a different way, even though you're saying the same thing. AC/DC comes to mind. There's a lot of people like that. Take that from the working out side. Like, have you made any, what concessions have you made for your age while training? I could tell you mine. I've got everything injured. So. You have an injury too.
Yeah, I've had lots of injuries. The latest one. The latest one, I tore my quad and my retinaculum off my kneecap entirely, and had to get it fixed.
Did that have anything to do with not stretching with your training or not?
I will say that anatomically it happened because when I got into the position where I started slipping on a wet floor or on wet pavement, my hamstrings are stronger than my quads. So once that lever arm started moving and I had my quads and my hamstrings battling for what the position of my knee was, my hamstrings just kicked butt and just went bam and ripped it.
That's unusual.
Didn't that hurt?
It was weird. It was like most of my injuries, I never realized they happen when they happen. And I fell on my back, hit my head, and I'm like, this, geez, I'm so, embarrassed. It's all raining. It's raining outside. I'm leaving my friend's house in Henderson. So I try to get up. And guess what? This knee. And I fell down again. I go, son of a bee, So the reason I was going outside was I was going to go get an umbrella for my wife out of the car so she wouldn't have to get wet. So I said, okay.
And you're on your back.
So I realized, I think I twisted my knee or something, and I'm not thinking seriously. So I said, okay, I'm going to walk on the grass so I don't slip to get to the car. Get up, stand up, walk on the grass, take one step, bam. Okay, so now I'm like, swearing, say, okay, one more try. And I'm at the edge of the grass and the pavement. I get up, boom. So now the problem is I'm flat on my back and my phone's in my back pocket. Okay? So I'm like, finally, I grab a bush, pull myself over, get my phone out of my pocket, and I call inside the house. I go, you guys got to come out here and help me. I fell down and I can't, get up. They think I'm kidding. They go, that's the stuff on the commercial, right? I go, no, you guys got to come out here, So there's 3 doctors that come out with my wife, and they look at me, what's wrong? And they go, listen, I hurt my knee. So they help me up and they sit me down and they start feeling it. They go, oh, we got a problem here. Because there was like a 6-inch gap between my kneecap and my quad. Yeah, it was, I went home, my wife drove us home, and next morning I called my buddy who's an orthopedic surgeon who fixed my bicep a few years back, and he said, hey, I need to see you in the office. He goes, what happened? I told him, son of a gun, he got me in. We were in surgery in 36 hours, and it was a very tough rehab because, like you and I, the 3 of us were talking, it was hard for me to stop doing what I was doing. I had set a goal the week before this accident happened, and so I had to adjust my training. When I was able to get back to the gym, I couldn't do lower body. I had to do upper body. So of course, since I was working out 4 times a week, I'm going to work out my upper body 4 times a week. Well, then that hurts my shoulder. It's kind of so you just got to humble yourself and say, okay. And but I'm back. The range of motion's great. Strength is coming back. I'm back doing all the lifts. I'm not lifting as heavy yet, but it'll all come. It's just a matter of but I've had that, a pec, a bicep, a shoulder, broken fingers, all doing, things that everyone thinks I get hurt in the gym. I've never, ever, ever been hurt in the gym. All my injuries are,
Oh, how'd you tear your bicep? No.
I tore my bicep moving a industrial copier from one table to the other at my office.
Oh,
it was the middle of the afternoon, and I wasn't warmed up. I just lifted this thing, and I'm walking. This is another funny story. I'm walking across the room to put it on the other table, and I hear this rip. So I put this copier down. It's probably like a 175-pound copier. I put it down, and I'm reaching behind, looking at, feeling my pants. I go, I must have ripped my pants. And I put the thing down. I look. I can't feel anything behind me. And all of a sudden, I look at my left arm, and it's just hanging down. And I'm like trying to lift it, and it's like, oh, we got a problem. So I call my buddy, the orthopedic surgeon. I go, hey, Jim, what would you do in the case of someone that just did this? He goes, well, if it's an athlete, we fix them. If not, we just let it go. I go, what if the guy wants to be an athlete? He goes, well, I'd probably fix it. And I said, "Are you in the office now?" He says, "Yeah, you got a patient over there where this happened?" I go, "Yeah." He says, "Well, come on over. Bring him over." So I show up, and he comes out the waiting room. He goes, "Where's the patient?" I go, "Me. It's me." He goes, and his eyes are just like, "What?" And yeah, they took me to surgery right away, and he and another orthopedic guy fixed it. And again, this shows you how stupid I can be. You know, they put me in a cast. He said, "All right, I'll see you in a week, but go to the therapist tomorrow and get a splint made." And I knew the therapist, so I went to see her the next morning. I said, "Look, take this off. I want one of those plastic ones with the Velcro you can put on and off." And thing is, I had to have my elbow bent, and I couldn't move my wrist. So she made it. She goes, "Why do you want this?" I go, "Well, it's okay." And so I missed operating one day. I postponed that lady. And what I did for 6 weeks until I could come out of the splint, the nurses would take that plastic thing off me, soak it in an antibiotic, okay? And then they would put it back on, and then they would help me get into my surgical thing. Now, the problem was I couldn't supinate and pronate my hand, and I couldn't stretch out my elbow. So everything that I had to do with my left arm was with my shoulder. So that was my first shoulder injury from overuse. The only good thing that came out of it, because they repaired it, and he knew that I'm a very stubborn son of a gun. So they actually drilled a hole in the bone in my forearm and pulled the tendon through. The tendon actually came off the bone with a piece of bone still on it. Which goes to show you, lifting heavy makes ligaments really strong.
Yeah, you go.
Because I broke the bone. So I wove it, but in so doing, the tendon is shortened. So I can't stretch my arm out totally. I lost some range of motion. I also can't supinate it entirely. The good thing from that is I can't go to a drive-through food place because I can't get the change.
That's perfect.
Because I can't straighten my arm out and I can't turn it over. So okay,
that's our dieting technique. This is great.
I love it.
I should offer that.
So there's weird things that happen in life. So yeah.
So obviously you're very mentally tough. So, but this is something I was thinking about.
Could be other.
Well, just
I'm just dumb.
That's what I tell him. I go, there's a fine line between insanity and.
Yeah, but at least you earned your injuries most of the time,
Yeah,
right?
right. Yeah, no, I did.
But as a therapist, it is so difficult with 98% of the people, not just that I see, but in general, just walking around, when you talk to people, most of them are very emotionally weak. They're very emotionally dysregulated. Everything is this, everything's a big problem. They're afraid to face anything, like we talked about before.
Yeah.
It's this whole new culture of we don't want to work hard, we don't want to get stressed out.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, did you have this since birth? Like, or is this something that you really worked on?
Well, I can't. I certainly honed it better. But what happened in my scenario, what set that ball in motion, was my sister and I were born in Cuba. My dad was an orthopedic surgeon back there in the military, and when Castro took over, he asked my grandparents to get my sister and I out of the country. And I left the country with my grandmother, grandfather, and my sister and I. And my parents weren't able to leave Cuba for another year and a half. So I lived with my grandparents, who were older by then. And I came from an island where I was 4.5, 5 years old, used to sun all the time. And my grandfather had a job that he had taken in Chicago. I got to Chicago via train from Miami with my grandparents, and January 5th, 1962. Or 1961, sorry. And it's 6 o'clock in the morning, and I look outside and I see all this white stuff. Well, I thought it was the beach. What did I know? So I'm in my underwear and I run outside and I jump in it and I go, oh, and my grandmother's sitting there laughing. But what happened was, here I was, a fat little kid, didn't speak English, parents were not there, I had to develop a very self-sufficient scenario. And for all that, that's where it started, and that's where it, continued from. And I think you're right. Both of you are right. I think what we've got now is an issue where the children are being raised differently. I had a conversation this morning with some a Mormon friend of mine, as we're talking about a mission. I know this kid who's going on a mission. Everyone's scared because some of these kids that are going on the Mormon missions now have been so coddled that they get to the place where there's no family for them anymore. There's no communication, and they don't have life skills. They just don't know how to do things, and we just got to be careful. It's our future. Yeah. So I lucked into it, and I just sharpened the knife, so to speak. But it was an accident of immigration that, and I'm a naturalized citizen. Was naturalized in 6 years. So wow. U.S. citizen.
Yeah, that's incredible. Is there anything that does get you nervous or scared? Is there anything in this world that you fear at this point?
I don't fear for anything for that. To me, what I get scared of is things that can happen if I'm not around for my family. I'm very resolved that someday I'm going to be gone, and I'm fine with that.
You're fine with that?
I know it's a matter of reality. It's going to happen somehow, but I always try to teach my family and my members of my family how to do things safe. From simple things, looking both sides of the way when you cross the street, to other things, avoiding scenarios that could be potentially dangerous, not going places. Still to this day, I'm leaving the office with my wife, and it's dark, and in wintertime, and she says, "You go ahead, go. I'm not leaving without you, because we're not walking out the parking lot in the dark." Okay. And she looks at me like, "Come on." I'm like, that's where I get my antenna goes up, for my family. Their priority over me.
So it seems like, John, how much time do we have? 3 minutes? All right, let's see if we can do it. I could talk to you like all day.
No, you can't.
No,
well,
not on the show at least.
Yeah. It seems like you've spent your whole life, and we didn't even go into it. You said you're the best plastic surgeon that anyone's known. You work with the SWAT team.
Yep.
You remove tattoos from gang members. You spent a whole life of service and helping people and taking care of people and nurturing people and taking your time to come here, all these things. Who nurtures you? Who can you just, whenever you're in a room, it's like you're the father, man. Like you take over, like you're the guy. Is there any time when you could just relax and just melt and have somebody else take over for you instead of you being the leader all the time?
I'll admit it's a very hard thing to do, because I'm a type A squared personality, but there are times when I know that it's gotten to a point where I need a break, and I would never burden my members to do that. So I just go someplace where I can't have a phone, or it won't work, and I go fishing in the middle of Montana, or someplace where no one can find me, and nature is what brings me back.
It's so funny you say that. In preparing for this show, I had that question lined up, and I wanted to hit you with it at the end.
Yeah.
And my answer to myself was, the only thing bigger than you that I thought you would come up with is you would go and sit at a shoreline to look at this big, massive thing of water and the sun. That'd be the only thing I think that could suit you.
And sometimes I talk to my dogs. Asking for
That'll
advice.
always do it too.
I love talking to my dogs. They just look at you. And
they look at me like, "You're asking me that again?"
Do I get a treat? No?
If I give you the answer.
So we only have like 30 seconds or so. So yes, this has been the Rise Above show. Dr. Julio Garcia. Would you like to come back on again?
Whenever you guys want. I tell you, you guys have a great show. I've always gotten stuff out of it, positive comments, positive learning. It's a great energy that I think, I do a lot of things for charity because I like to pay it forward. And anything we can do to help any individual out there who's looking for a focus point, anytime, that would be my pleasure to help them get focused, if I can help.
Awesome.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Nice to see you again, Heidi.
Dr. Julio Garcia, world's greatest plastic surgeon. I'm Joe Peroni, Rise Above Show.
I'm Heidi Mancini.
And
Julio Garcia. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it.
Thank you.